All right. We're going to be doing this on the count of three. Are you ready? One, two, three. Boom.
Yeah, bomb.
I'm wondering if I got the uncontrollable urge to say ba-bum from you, John, because I now, every time I do it, physically have to say ba-bum.
It's the way.
Does anyone imagine Diane as they watch Lily, like, kind of skip down the street?
Yeah,
Diane Cook.
Diane.
Yes, just how she just loves Christmas and just is happy go lucky.
Franny and Tui. That's a Rory and Jess book, by the way.
I love that the button on her coat is actually a button. Like, it looks like a button.
I love how weird she is because I feel like she's a lot like me.
She's fantastic.
Whose parents just leave randomly for Christmas?
That's what I was thinking. Like, what kind of parents just leave their kids at Christmas time?
And also the grandfather, too.
This song must not be that expensive
Oh, it's
because
everywhere.
I hear it in a lot of movies.
I'm sure they just want to make the monies so
Well,
they
it's
don't
also,
make it
yeah,
too
it's
expensive.
also covered a lot too.
The brothers might be my favorite.
I love the brother. I
He
love
is
the.
hilarious.
I also really love, like, not to give it away, but I really love the brothers' arc in this story.
Absolutely.
I just think it's great casting all around because it's really hard not to like any of them.
I also just really love her earrings.
She's really giving me Lara Jean Covey vibes with just her pure excitement for life and the kind of monologuing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for 100%.
totally.
Yes.
By the way, I love Laura Jean Covey.
Oh, me too.
I love her room.
I love that line when she says you love coffee. It's so supportive.
Interesting. It's not really her scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was thinking that as well, so it makes a lot more sense that it's coming from the pretentious older brother.
Well, that has to be a point of tension when they eventually meet, seeing as they're none of her intellectual references.
I love this song.
Oh man, that's me every time I have to do a trip.
Not
Me
to
too.
not to be a Grinch, but like that tree in New York City would cost about $175.
In Los Angeles too.
Yeah, they're so
And
expensive.
DC too. They're going for 300 right now.
This is what happens when you live places that doesn't have those trees close by.
I once got like a little 2-foot one and it was $50 and I was so upset.
I'm deathly allergic to pine trees, so I can't have real Christmas trees.
Look how excited she looks. I do love her wallpaper. Whoever said they love her room earlier.
Why don't they lock their doors anymore? Like, after the first time, learn to lock your doors, guys.
I meant to ask about this in yesterday. How realistic is it in New York to just see random carolers
I would
standing
like
around
to know
caroling?
that.
Never in my life have I seen random carolers, but that
That
doesn't
makes
mean
me
that they don't
sad.
exist. But a lot of weird stuff happens in Washington Square Park, so it could have happened at one point, but not. I've never seen it myself.
Why don't you start a caroling troupe?
I mean, I guess I should.
I think so, because now I'm sad to know that you don't just walk down the streets of New York and see random carolers.
You see random other stuff and definitely singing, but not so much organized carolers, or at least I never have.
So far, I'm really liking Lily a lot more than I liked Dash.
Right next to Grandma got ran over by a reindeer, Mandy.
I love it.
Uh-oh.
Surprise, surprise. He knew the whole
Oh.
time.
I love her.
I mean, that's a joke that you would make, Mandy.
Absolutely.
And this seems like something Mandy might do to somebody as payback.
Absolutely. I really do like Lily way more than I like Dash.
Oh, you'll
I
get
think you're
there.
gonna start to. I think you're gonna start to come around to Dash eventually too.
Yeah, Dash isn't as bad as he appears.
The murdered corpse. This is such an odd tradition that we have made as human beings.
Just to sit on Santa's lap.
Yes.
Also, to tell your children that there's this weird man who knows everything that you do.
He kind of looks scared now.
And he has entry into your house.
I have never gone to Santaland at Macy's, but this movie makes me want to. Just to see if
You
it's like this.
should.
You should
The
go
thing
take a
is, you
picture
can't
of
you can't get up there unless you have it's a disaster. I mean, the amount of people here is about a fraction of what you'd see.
I like that we're getting more context. I didn't really get the idea that we were going to, so I like that we're revisiting it with more context.
I love that he said that we took capoeira.
She has a lot of connections.
it's her family.
Yeah, it's cool. It's the way that all of these characters are revealed through the hunt.
Yes. Oh, this is going to be interesting.
She should listen to her uncle about that boy, though.
Give it a chance, Amanda. Give it a chance.
Well, I think that it's going to prove the same thing that his friend said, which is, once he lets you in, he hasn't let you in yet, Mandy. Once he lets you in, he's the
Aww.
And Dash gave Santa a plate of cookies along with the notebook. He can't be that bad.
I was wondering how far they would go into that song. I was really curious. Oh, no.
yeah. Just wait for it. Wait for it.
He might hate a Christmas a little bit less now. Do you think it's intentional that her room's mostly red and his is green?
Yeah.
100% intentional.
And that was
Oh
very
my gosh!
cute.
Come on, people! Don't miss this
Yeah,
little
don't stop
blooper
your
here at the end.
stuff yet, guys. Now it's done.
Who is a little misty-eyed? I
Chris
am.
is.
I am.
I'm loving it.
It's fantastic. Uh, there's a bunch of stuff. I think, like, first of all, a few things I want to talk about. Like, one, I think what's really interesting. So we know now that um, that this Christmas is actually different for Lily, and it seems like it's the first time, right? Because she loves she loves this holiday. She's expecting. She has expectations that seem to have been met every year since before this year, and this is the first time that she's sort of struggling at Christmas. And Dash is the opposite, right? He's felt this about Christmas for a long time. Christmas has become defined by all of that loneliness and confusion and who's around and all of that, right? Um, but he's now starting to, like, as Chris mentioned at the end, he's now starting to experience something slightly different. He's starting to get the Christmas spirit. So there's just this really interesting juxtaposition between the two of them. It's not like her it's like both of them in a way are experiencing what the other one has felt for all of these years, and that's part of what's bringing them together.
Right, because
Fantastic.
the notebook is what is different for him. It's the quest that's different for him. He's got something to do and something, that's kind of just daily exciting for him in a way that, maybe past Christmases didn't include anything terribly exciting. So I think absolutely it's different for him, and it's different for him because of her and
But
the
also, but
notebook
like I
and
said,
the
also
quest.
it's different for her. This is also the first Christmas, it seems, that it's the first Christmas that is not like full of family. Like, her parents have gone away, her
Right.
grandfather, that like all everything that she's like, she loves Christmas because Christmas has been joyous for her and full, and and this is the first Christmas where it's not, and that's how Dash has felt about Christmas for a long time, because that has been his experience with Christmas for a while. So she's like, they're coming together, yes, through the notebook, but part of why it's sort of working has to do with the fact that she's also she's also experiencing to a degree what he has experienced, and he is now starting to experience what she has experienced.
Hey, everybody, you can harvest. Don't be like Chris on Monday and forget.
Yeah, I made these Dash and Lily episodes 45-minute long events, so that it's a half hour episode, because the episodes are pretty short. They're like 25 minutes, 23 minutes, and then the end of the event is now 145. We'll probably go over, but just don't forget that it will be harvesting pretty close to after we finish these episodes.
And by the
Um,
way, Mandy, do you like it a little better now?
I liked this episode better than I did the first one. I don't know how accurate this is to Christmas in New York, but in my mind, I'm picturing subways full of Santas and people caroling on every corner. And I don't care if that's not accurate. That's what's in my mind, and it's going to remain in my mind.
Well, I will
Wait for it
say
to
on
see tomorrow.
SantaCon Day, definitely the subways are full of Santa. That is a thing.
SantaCon, oh my goodness.
I only
Oh,
Tremendous.
found
I
out about that this year. My best friend lives in New York and just very casually texted me like, "Oh, I can't go outside tomorrow. It's SantaCon." And I was
Yeah,
like,
it's like the purge. We
"You
don't go
can't
out.
just say the word SantaCon with no other explanation. That's not something you can just say."
But I'd say the rest is pretty accurate to New York in terms of like how it feels and the decorations. And there's definitely like I don't know, there's like more music everywhere than expected. Like, there's always something going on. Not so much carolers, but the only thing that doesn't happen is it does not snow. Like, it snows very rarely here. And so that's one thing that this series has that I wish to God that we had more.
So I love Lily's brother and his new guy.
His
I think
new
they're so
guy.
much fun.
Yeah, I
I don't
love.
I don't know if they're boyfriend yet, but yeah, they're a lot of
That's an
fun.
art on the series that I really love, and it starts here, so don't miss it. Uh, yeah, I love one of the things that I really love is I love how both of them, the focus that both of them give to the responses that they get, right? So like I love when she gets the notebook and she's reading it, on the street and just completely it just in
Engrossed.
so into it, so excited. Very similar to how he is when he opens up the hat and he just can't stop looking at her name, Lily. Um, it's that like it's the little bits of the mystery being revealed um, that are just so they're just so exciting because you can feel how new they are to them. Um, Up until that moment, I mean, we know her name is Lily, but up until that moment, he doesn't know her name is Lily, and just the excitement of him discovering that information, I could just feel it. I could put myself into his mind, like having read all of this information from this nameless person, and then all of a sudden, it has a name.
On a
Yeah, and
scale
his
from 1 to 10, how much should either of them be worried that they are talking to a murderer?
Oh
Lee.
goodness, you had to go there, Lee.
Like
Murderers
I'm
don't exist in this world,
This is
Lee.
not
Come
Oh,
on.
honestly,
sorry.
this is
I'm
not Hill House or
surprised.
Bly Manor. Come
I
on,
think
this
that
is
he.
Dash and
I think
Lily.
that he, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 1 for both of them, and the reason is because he already went to the cashier at the Strand, and he said and he said something and the response was, "I'm not allowed to. She won't let me." Blah blah blah. Right. So he knows that this person has a relationship to the cashier,
Or
and
And
the
she's met
cashier has
his
been
friend.
threatened with his life.
I don't
That
think.
is
I mean,
such
realistically, that doesn't make any sense.
Lee,
And
you
then
are
that
paranoid.
Lee,
you are
I'm
bringing
just
Lee wants
saying
everything to be a horror
you
film.
are bringing some darkness to Christmas,
Lee,
Lee.
I'm just saying that's exactly what I'm like, how are these people so okay with the fact that they don't know who the other one is? And my first thought would be this is obviously somebody who needs to be on to catch Predator. Like,
Yeah,
that's
but
just where my mind
I'm just letting
automatically
you
she
all
goes.
just
know.
No way.
I
she
am
met
No.
getting
his friend.
multiple back channel messages saying I am a very realistic person. I know the
Exactly.
world is awful.
Well, that's the thing. It's a show. It's not going to be realistic.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
also, that
Again, it's
handwriting
a
is
TV
not,
show.
that's not a murderer handwriting. That's a
Yeah.
teenage girl.
Exactly. Teenage handwriting.
There are no
Also,
letters cut out of magazines.
also his friend like gets her on the street and then
She met his friend.
buys her a pizza, and like they chat about him. I mean, everything about it, there's too many clues that would tell me that it's fine. Like, it might end up being somebody that like are just not even remotely attracted to. That I would be probably a bit more worried about. But the idea that it would be a serial killer, no, that this is I don't even. I mean, even outside of it being a TV show, I just think that wouldn't cross my mind.
Yeah, I would think the fact that his friend told her that his mother refers to him in a particular way would kind of indicate that he really probably is about the same age as the friend that she met at the pizza joint and not some older creepy guy. And then her uncle has met him and seen him, and the guy at the bookstore has seen
Yeah,
him.
and the
So
uncle says he's not a fan. Why isn't the uncle a fan? Why isn't she more suspicious?
because he's overprotective. Come
Because he's
on.
overprotective, and
I
she's got
love
to
that I
know that
started
about him.
this.
She knows she's got to know. She knows that about him. She's going to definitely understand the difference between what his buddy says about him and what the uncle says about him. The buddy has already let her know that he has a prickly personality, but
He's
that underneath
swirly.
that, what's up?
What
What's
did
up?
he say? Something like,
She asked if he's surly, and he said that his mother said that kind of
Finicky?
like finicky. Yeah, something
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that.
she already kind of knows that he's probably somebody that like, that maybe doesn't always make the best first impression, but that, he has this friend who is putting himself like on the line for him, and who says, I can vouch for him. He's one of the best people in this world. Like, I don't know, these things, I think that all of this, I wouldn't be worried, and in fact, I would be intrigued.
Yeah, Lee,
Um,
have some fun with
I'm
it. Quit making it a
sorry,
horror
but when all
show.
of you are murdered and I hear about it on the news, I'm gonna say, hey,
It's their eternal optimism that made that happen.
I just want to say, because I don't know how much longer we're all going to talk, but you guys have to come back and watch tomorrow's episode. I'm so excited for tomorrow. Do you remember what tomorrow's is, John? It's called Hanukkah.
I don't.
I do, yes.
Oh,
It's such a fun
so good.
episode. Yes.
Yes.
Um,
are we
and
what?
I love the way that the characters, like all of the characters, or not all of them, but several of the characters are being revealed through through this like hunt, right? Like, we don't really like when we see the Santa, we just think it's just a mall Santa for a second, and then suddenly we're like, we discover, wait a second, this Santa is in on the whole thing, and then we learn, oh wait, this Santa is actually, part of her life. Oh, it seems like it's one of her grandfather's good buddies, and that's how, so it's like all of these things, in a way the narrative is asking you to piece together clues as well, as like dropping little hints. It's not giving you all of the information up front, and I love that. It's putting us in the mindset of playing the game.
Yeah. Well, and it also explains why he let him take the hat and they didn't make him give it back. I remember the first time I was watching it before they revealed who the Santa was. I was like, how did they just let him walk out of there with that hat?
I always
Yeah,
thought that he just kind of stuffed it in. He just stuffed it in his jacket. But I mean, yes, the other Santa would have. The Santa should have been like, "Give me my hat back," or "Go get that guy. He's got my hat."
I do love the writing style of the show. I do like how people are revealed slowly.
And you like Lily? Come on
I
now.
She's
do, but
great.
that's because I feel like I can relate to her. I feel like we are very similar.
She's
Also, it was.
fun and
I thought
quirky.
it was a really interesting reveal to learn that this character who seems so confident and assured of herself in the narrative, in the narration of the first episode, this like almost kind of cocky, as you sort of suggested, pretentious teenager who thinks, I'm gonna, take this guy on a hunt to find me. It's so fun that is completely subverted in this next episode, and to find that she's actually very insecure, and she's nervous about putting herself out there, and that it takes her brother to do it, and that in fact most of it is actually her brother's voice.
Yep, and pretty much up until
Yeah.
they start, up until Dash responds, it is all her brother for the other than that song, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that
Which
was the only
explains
thing.
the whole put it back if you're a girl, put it back if you're not a teenage boy kind of thing. Her brother doesn't want some old creeper
Exactly. Like
chasing his
that
sister.
that was all her brother, that was all her brother's voice saying that kind of stuff, right? Like the like put it back if you're a girl, but like that wasn't even her that wrote that in there. I just think that it's so clever. And it surprises you, and there are more surprises like that in the series. That's why I'm saying don't pass judgment just yet, and not on Dash either, because what's his friend's name? Boomer? Is it
Boomer.
Boomer?
I thought it was
It's
funny because
Boomer
he's so
said
young.
said Boomer said, that he, once he lets you in, and what you might be experiencing now is a deliberate attempt by the writers to present you a character that's deliberately not letting you in, and that might be part of it. And it's very possible that once he does let you in, that you feel a little different about him.
I
Just saying.
I haven't finished the book, but the department store scene is different and it's pretty hilarious in the book. Highly recommend reading that.
I actually just got it from my library. I had it on hold for the last couple weeks. It just showed up in my notifications. The day is available. Yay!
Yeah, it's worth reading because like there's some, there's some changes, but there's some details that sort of are detailed a little bit more in the book and then come out kind of insignificantly in the series, but they're kind of nice little Easter eggs. Like they don't really change anything. Like you wouldn't have to have read the book to, you know, to enjoy it, but like there's like one or two things I'm like, oh, that's funny that they threw that in there like as a line because it is from the book, but like it doesn't have anything to do with the scene, like that kind of stuff. It's just kind of Easter eggy, which is cool.
Lee, are you going to like it anyway, even though it's not a horror?
I don't know. I'm enjoying the happiness, but I'm not used to happy endings. So like if at least 5 of these characters aren't dead by the end of the season, I'm not sure what to do with that, you know?
You're supposed to just
I
enjoy
think
it.
I
You're
think
supposed to
it's funny
enjoy
that
happy things?
I think it's funny that people are starting to associate Lee with horror because, like, before we start the watches with her, she almost always says, like, for those joining for the first time, that she doesn't really like horror, and these are not like
They're my
traditional horror type
exception. Yeah.
shows. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
not only that, I mean, we met in through the context of a television show that I wouldn't even remotely classify as as horror,
No.
and it has plenty of really nice moments of people falling in love and experiencing butterflies in their stomach and all of that good stuff. So,
But I did pick like the couple that have like one of the more tragic stories of pain and heartbreak. I I found
but
like
there's
one of
plenty
the
of pain and
least
heartbreak.
happy points.
But there's plenty of pain and heartbreak that
There
we're
are.
feeling
There
already. I
are.
mean, they're these two characters are totally alone right now, and he's especially. That's the reason why, like, I think that his character is really, um, is a really fascinating and compelling character. Is that he's very lonely. Uh, I mean, just that scene of him coming back at the very end, that just like that dark modern, spacious, the door like slides closed, I mean, just really, um, I want to see that guy caroling by the
I
end,
found it very sad that he called his dad and his dad didn't even care enough to notice that he like you could hear the alarm going off. The alarm he was asking for a passcode for. His dad didn't even care.
Yeah.
That
Let's
was
just
sad.
also remember while we're watching this that because somebody else in the back channels had thought these were university age people. These are a couple of seniors in high school.
Yeah.
They're or like 17 years old.
Yeah.
They might be juniors, but
She's not a senior. She's a junior in high school. I believe he's a senior in high school. I think she has one more year left.
yeah.
Is what I remember, because I don't want to spoil it, but there's a part of the storyline is sort of linked to the fact that she's actually not really able to
Yeah,
she's not at the age where she leaves home yet.
I
so that's something to keep in
go on,
mind when
Chris.
you're watching how the story's revealed and what they're writing back and forth to each other and the things that they're doing. Because it's like these aren't a bunch of 20 somethings or a couple of 20 somethings, or even the other people they interact with aren't all that old either.
Yeah, they're kids.
The
That's
girl
why I
who
sort of
plays
give them the
Lily,
leeway of being like full of you know of, well, pretension, but like full of the you know the desire for love and romance and the excitement of puppy love and infatuation and notes and learning learning the mysteries of, I mean, all of that stuff is just so wrapped up in people's high school years. At least it was for me.
I
I
just
mean, not
need to
necessarily, not necessarily like scavenger hunts, but you know, I mean, just those feelings that they're very reminiscent of this time.
I just want to very quickly point out that the girl who plays Lily is nearly 30. I needed to look that up because I know Hollywood ages up, but I wanted to see just how much, and I'm actually kind of shocked by that because she does have a very baby face.
Yeah, I was 27 when I started on Gilmore Girls, and I was the youngest of our group.
Insanity. You
Hollywood
all looked
lies.
young. That's how it worked.
But that's
Not
just
to
a
say
thing. I mean,
27 isn't
like
the.
everything is about like people are aged.
I'm about to
Are,
turn 27, John. I'm about to be the age you are. You were when you started Gilmore Girls.
I think it was. I think I was 27. Wait,
I don't want to start like
yeah,
a
2000.
crisis or something. I thought you were like
Yeah,
being
2000.
quiet because I kind of threw you into a bit of a crisis there.
Let's see. Wait, hold on one second. Let me do.
Can
It's
you
20 years
calculate your
ago.
own age?
Yeah, 27. Yeah, 27. 27. 27. Yeah.
Can't calculate Josie's months and you
I
can't
can't. I
calculate your
really
age.
can't. I'm so
Maths is
bad
hard.
with math. I am so bad with like brain math. I mean, I'm really good. I'm very good with math. I'm just good with math on paper. Like in the brain, I just like I got too many other things going on in there. Like you know,
Monkey
uh,
underpants.
yeah, exactly that kind of stuff.
One more thing I wanted to say about this show in general and like the New York aspect of it is that like we typically think of big cities as as places where you would never run into anybody, or you wouldn't have this like, we're seeing the connections that these characters have to like people in the neighborhood, right? Like, she knows the Santa and she knows the bookstore owner or sorry, worker, and like they both know Boomer, and like there's sort of all these connections, and that is really real, at least in my experience. I feel like big cities can feel really overwhelming sometimes, and I definitely think in New York especially, and it's happened to me, you'll see someone on the subway and like out of all the thousands of people that you run into, like the chances of running into somebody are like mathematically really low. But it happens, and I think it's like really magical when it does, and so I really love that this show like gets at that small townness that you wouldn't typically think exists, but it really really does. And it's like it always feels really magical when it happens, when you run into somebody that in like an unlikely place. Like actually at SantaCon many 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 years ago, the first time I went, I like thousands of people dress up as Santa like all over the city, and I like ran into one of my best friends in the street. It was just like, how did that happen? I have no idea, but it was, it was just it happens. It's just, it
Well,
is a fact
Diana,
of New
It
York.
really doesn't
I
seem weird to me because I mean, typically dense urban cities are actually like in terms of geographic size are actually pretty small. They're very dense,
Yeah.
but they're actually geographically small. So there's not actually a lot of area that people are going through. There's a lot of people, but the idea that you would run into somebody in Manhattan, any place in Manhattan, doesn't seem odd to me. Certainly, way odder in Los Angeles, where like the city is so spread out that if you're like super far from your from where you live in the city and you were to run into somebody, it would be truly weird, and yet still happens. Like I mean, I'll go downtown, which is like a good 40-minute or 35-minute drive from where I live, and if I were to like run into somebody that I know from the industry, like it wouldn't be weird to me.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you something
I
even
just like,
weirder though.
I
I
just, well, I just like that they show a couple of times now, like the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree and like sort of like where all the action is and like how many people there are there. And so it seems impossible, like it sort of seems like in this big city of like all these people, like, you could A, feel really alone, and B, like run into people that like just by chance. And it feels so magical when that happens because there are just so many people. Even though the geographic area is really small, the volume of people is really big, so it feels like almost like, you know, sort of a physical impossibility that you'd get to see anybody that you know. And there's just so much movement. I think that's what it is too. There's like a lot of like fast-paced movement all the time, you know, so it's like a sliding doors, you know. It's like, well, if you walked in this like
Oh, that's
into
a good
this
movie.
subway, yeah, like you walk into this subway station from this entrance instead of that one, you know, you could miss a complete, like you miss your best friend, you know what I mean? But like if you just happen to pick the same door as they did, you know, it would work. And so I feel like this show like gets at that magic, and I really really love it.
I'll tell you a small world story kind of related to what you're talking about, Diana. So I used to go to London every year for many years, and there was this particular place I like to go eat. And my mom and I and her friend were traveling one year in London, and I took him to this place I like to go eat, which is not like a touristy spot or anything. It was just like a dining room upstairs in a pub. And we're sitting up there having um, like a Sunday dinner kind of thing. And two tables over is a girl that grew up a block away from me that I hadn't seen in like 10 years, sitting at a table with three other people that were from my hometown. And we were in London, not in Minnesota, not in the United States. We were all the way across the pond in another country. It was the weirdest thing,
That's
but it was a lot of fun.
beautiful.
Yeah, that happens.
I love
And it
that.
wasn't even a common place that tourists would go to. It was just a place I had found that I would go to every time I was there. But it just was strange. So when you're telling me stories, I'm like, it's such a small world because that happened to me across the other side of the world.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it really
that's
does
where like
happen.
serendipity comes in. It's like, you know, it is it serendipity, or is it like some sort of master plan? You're supposed to see that person at that time, and like it just all these different things had to converge for that to happen. But like it's just so there's a magical element to it that I just love. I love hearing that.
I also getting back to your comment about it's hard to believe that people can be lonely in a city with so many people. You look around, all these people, all these friends. But I actually think that can actually, and I think that that's part of what Dash feels, and that's what I think a lot of folks feel at Christmas who find the holiday to be particularly lonely, is that they do know that there are so many people out there, and that there are so many people that are together, and and the loneliness is in that they don't have the community that they need to feel like um, like they have that same togetherness. It's really about finding community, and I think that at Christmas there are a lot of folks who don't have any community, and that loneliness creeps in, especially because they know so many others do have the community. When you're alone and you feel like others are experiencing what you're feeling. And actually there are support groups and forums online for people who are lonely at Christmas, to find some kind of connection to other people who are lonely on Christmas. And it's through that connection that they have that they actually become unlonely for a
Yeah,
bit.
that's a big thing. I know a lot of people who will open, especially last year and the year before, or the year before. I've forgotten how long this has been happening, but I know a lot of people started up big Zoom rooms with just put the invite link out there and said, "Hey, if you're on your own on Christmas Day, come in. It's a room for hundreds of people. You don't have to be there all day, but just
just
come
just
in."
come and
And
know that there are other
yeah,
people that are
yeah.
also alone
Even if
on
you sit,
Christmas
yeah,
Day,
exactly. Even if you
and
sit
you
there with your
all are,
mic muted,
yeah, and
you're with
therefore
people.
you're not alone, because look, all of these other people are there. um yeah, I mean, of course, that, like, there's also the idea that maybe you're alone because there was a time in your life where you had certain people, family members, that were there with you that maybe are not there with you anymore. So I mean, it's certainly complicated, but yeah, I do think that part of the loneliness actually comes from understanding that others are not alone, and that, I think, amplifies it.
Well, I feel happy now.
Well, this was this was a good
Discussion.
sorry. Yeah, sorry, I just got somebody needs help adjusting the time on their watch. Uh, that was good. I'm looking forward to watching the next episode with everybody.
Yes, me too.
I hope people are liking it. I know that there was a little bit of snark going on, but I interpret that as just, as you all don't want to admit that you're loving it. You're loving
I
it.
fully admit it. I've seen this a couple times before, and I've loved it both times. And I'm very excited about tomorrow's episode, and when you guys see it, you'll know why. It's just fun, fun, fun.
I'm excited for the murder.
So
There's no murders. No murders are going to happen here. Lee, there are no murders. There's no bat demons. No, none of.
bat demons.
I'm sure there's some murders happening in New York City, like at the time, but
Just watch in the
they're just not
background. There's
shown.
background murders.
You just don't know about them.
All right.
Seriously, I'm enjoying it. It's a very nice show.
Diana, more about this Santa con that you went to. Okay.
I'm gonna actually make Chris a moderator because I am actually gonna head out here now. But I don't want you to stop the conversation. I mean SantaCon. You never stop a conversation at SantaCon. But I do have to run. I will see everybody tomorrow at 1 p.m. Or in various watches that are happening before then.
Have
Bye.
a
Bye,
good
John.
afternoon.
Bye.
Bye, John.